Welcome to our new orientation in the lobby of the mayor's office. Today, we're going to focus our press briefing here on 3 bills that we have been working on in close collaboration with the Board of Aldermen. As you all know, providing shelter during winter is a key responsibility of government systems and of the city of St. Louis. And in the past, I've been critical when the city has failed to live up to its responsibilities, and I am committed to ensuring that we do better. Getting our most vulnerable neighbors safely through winter is currently the top priority of my administration, and I've made it clear to my team that I will move heaven and earth to make sure that we are providing safe shelter for folks in need this winter. It's a huge lift because the tornado means that many more St. Louisans are more vulnerable than have been in years past, but we are committed to getting this work done. I'm grateful to the many partners in this work. Of course, the city of St. Louis does not by any stretch do this alone. We could not do this alone. There are thousands of St. Louisans and organizations that are a major part of this work. We also have dedicated staff here in our city that led by Director of Human Services, Dr. Adam Pearson, who work in close coordination with the continuum of care and the organizations represented by that set of organizations that do a tremendous amount of work. And of course, the hundreds of volunteers who on a regular and daily basis are ensuring the safety and well-being of our unhoused community. So as I mentioned, we are working closely with the Board of Aldermen to make some of the biggest investments in winter shelter that I believe our city has ever seen in light of what I believe to be the biggest need in shelter that our city has ever seen. To that end, I'm pleased to be here today with members of the Board of Aldermen, including the president of the board, our Chief Recovery Officer Julian Nix, Chief Operating Officer Colonel Ben Johnson, Dr. Pearson, and several others here to present these 3 critical bills that will allocate $13.7 million in additional funds to support tornado housing and winter shelters. I want to thank my staff, including Chief of Staff Casey Milberg, for doing an enormous lift in drafting these bills. But of course, working closely with the Board of Aldermen, their priorities aligned with ours to get this work done. First of all, the first bill Alderman Aldrich is leading the way on will be allocating $1 million in accrued RAM settlement interest to the Impacted Tenants Fund, and this will ensure that more displaced residents receive financial assistance to help them relocate. The second bill, led by Alderwoman Saunier, she is sponsoring a bill that will provide $3.36 million in accrued RAMS interest that will enable rapid activation and operation of additional winter shelter facilities, extend hours in existing shelters, and fund procurement of necessary supplies and services at new and existing shelters. It will also fund transportation to shelter and outreach efforts, the warming buses that we have come to recognize as a critical part of serving our unhoused to be able to get to safe indoor spaces. And finally, a bill introduced and led by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard taps and this is somewhat unprecedented, $9.3 million in a one-time surplus from the general reserve funds. These are funds that were the excess funds from last year's budget for the purpose of supporting winter-related emergency housing, home repair, sheltering, and rental assistance, and other needs critical for the unhoused community. And rehousing our residents impacted by the tornado. Alderman Clark Hubbard could not be here today due to a family emergency, but I wanted to take a moment, since she will not be able to speak here, just to thank her for her leadership on this and being a tremendous champion and advocate for not only her constituents, but all city constituents impacted by the tornado. Combined, these three bills total $13.7 million that we're adding to what has totaled about $93 million in funds that we have allocated or already spent on tornado relief. This brings our total of spent and allocated funds well over $100 million. We know this is still not enough, but it is a very considerable investment on the part of the city because we believe very strongly and are committed to the recovery of our residents following the May 16th tornado. And with that, I just want to point out one of the aspects of the bills is that we, in recognizing how long it typically takes to get funds out, have included some emergency procurement protocols so that we can, working with the Board of Aldermen, expedite the funds as quickly as possible. I just want to thank everybody involved here, and I'd like to turn it over now to the Board of Aldermen president and the other members of the board who've also played a key and very important leadership roles in making sure that we're able to get these bills done quickly and move them through the Board of Aldermen as quickly as possible. President Green.
Feel very tall all of a sudden. We might need to move this for a second. I feel like I'm very far away from this. Sorry. At last night's budget hearing, for those of you who could attend, we heard from residents who share our concern for our unhoused and unsheltered neighbors in our city. Every year, the city faces a shortage of available beds, and shelter space puts already vulnerable individuals and families at greater risk. We also know that this year, because of the May 16th tornado, that even more people are going to desperately need housing. It's been estimated that as many as 1,500 people may be unsheltered this winter, which in all likelihood could be an undercount. We also hear from residents who are frustrated by the pace of government, which doesn't meet their urgent needs for relief. We heard from folks who are still living in houses without roofs, with tarps on their roofs, with walls that are missing, who don't have electricity or can't turn on their heat. And as it gets colder, more and more of those folks will not be able to stay in the houses that they've been staying in during warmer weather. We also heard from folks that we need to move faster. Residents rightfully pointed out that it often seems like the city routinely fast tracks processes or makes exceptions when we have a developer who needs something, and they asked us to make sure that we put that same urgency behind making sure that nobody goes unsheltered this winter. It's clear residents are expecting us to do better. And for our part, the Board of Aldermen will fast track the legislative process so that this funding can be made available. What that will look like is tomorrow, all three bills will be introduced from the floor. We will suspend the rules to do that. They will be heard in committee next week. And then next Friday, we will suspend the rules again to move them from second reading to perfection so that we can get these bills passed out in about 2 weeks' time. And we know that beyond that, we need to fast track other processes in the cities to make sure that we can get these funds into the hands of providers before it gets cold. And as Mayor Spencer said, that is the reason there is language in these bills to allow for some emergency procurement procedures so that not only after we expedite our processes at the board, we can be working to expedite these processes throughout city government. I want to make sure that I'm thanking Alderwoman Saunier, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderman Aldridge, Mayor Spencer, and her staff for taking what we've been hearing from our communities over the last few months and directing nearly $14 million to address gaps in housing, shelter, and other critical needs. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank the community organizations who have been encouraging us, lobbying us, calling us, emailing us to make sure that we get these funds out because they are concerned that we are on the verge of a humanitarian crisis if we do not act quickly. I want to also recognize that many of those organizations for years prior to this have used volunteers to staff many of our shelters. And because of this funding, we will no longer be reliant solely on volunteers to staff shelters during our winter months. And this funding guarantees that we will be able to expand our capacity to meet the needs that are so evident that we will have over these winter months. And with that, I want to turn it over to Alderwoman Saulnier, who has been a real champion for our unhoused neighbors for many, many years, to speak to the need for additional beds and shelter space.
Good morning, everyone. You know, as we approach one of the harshest winters in recent memory, we must face a difficult truth. For too many of our St. Louis residents, they will not have a warm and safe place to sleep. And so what you see in front of us is a genuine effort for all of us to act in collaboration and to do so right now. As shared by the mayor, I will be introducing a board bill that dedicates the remaining RAM settlement interest funds towards keeping our unhoused neighbors alive and supported during the cold winter months. This is not just a funding bill, it's a lifeline. I've been meeting directly with the shelter and outreach providers who do this work every single night. This is what we all know to be true. Our support system needs more warming beds and warming sites, transportation and access to flexibility to those funds, and flexibility in the emergency funds for overflow capacity and sustained support for the outreach workers who show up no matter the weather. This legislation hopes to reflect that feedback and incorporate the expertise from the bottom up, not the top down. We know that a single night without shelter and sub-freezing temperatures can mean the difference between life and death. We also know that emergency shelter is just one step in the larger pathway towards stability, housing, and dignity. But if we don't keep people alive this winter, they will never have that chance. This isn't a final step. This is merely a first step of many on a long road through winter. As we proceed through the legislative process, I encourage all residents to stay engaged, stay active, and hold your elected leaders accountable. Community accountability is a partnership. It's what keeps the work honest, transparent, and focused on outcomes that matter. Warming beds, open doors, and save lives. This bill ensures that providers are equipped, our unhoused neighbors are protected, and the City of St. Louis stands behind the values and compassion and responsibility. This is our moral test as a city, and this test must be urgency, humanity, and action. I think what should also really be highlighted today in our efforts is that all three of these bills are meant to work in tandem with each other. I hope that the many residents who are living in their homes right now without walls, without roofs, I hope that you can see that we are working together. We are putting our issues to the side and focus on what's most important. I really want to thank the mayor's office and all of her incredible staff for the work that they've done, for the many meetings, for the many calls, and especially doing an unprecedented move with pulling resources from the reserve, which is not something I've observed since I've been here. And I also want to thank President Green for her offices and their incredible staff of sitting through this process and doing this advocacy, and Alderwoman Shameen Clark-Hubbard and Alderman Aldridge and many of my other colleagues, some of which don't even live in impacted areas but are highly concerned about our residents, because we understand that in order for the city to thrive, it truly does have to be all of us. Thank you.
I would love to actually have that.
You like my box.
I mean, we're about to. Good morning, everybody. First off, I want to say, I think what you're seeing right here with the collaboration of the mayor's office, the president, and Alderwoman Saulnier and Clark-Hubbard is very historic. May 16th not only changed many lives, it changed the city. It was a tornado that nobody was ready for, was not prepared. And as we heard yesterday in the community, clearly is not moving fast enough. And I want to let everybody know who has been impacted by the tornado, we do hear you. And that's why today you see historic pieces of legislation being introduced this Friday. I'm honored to be able to introduce a board bill that will tap into the RAM's interest money of $1 million to go to Impacted Tenants Fund. Impacted Tenants Fund has been legislation that this board and mayor has supported over several years, and this year we're making a historic investment by adding $1 million from the RAM's interest into this fund. As people are still looking for housing and potentially need to relocate, we also want to make sure that we are supporting them in that process too. These monies would be able to be used to help people relocate if they do not have funds to be able to do it on their own. One thing that we know is a lot of people that was impacted in the tornado already didn't have much. Over in North St. Louis has already been deeply disinvested. And the more resources that we can do as a city of St. Louis, we must and we will. As the president said, we're taking another historic moment. This isn't the first time where we're going to introduce bills. We're going to suspend the rules. We're going to fast track them. We're going to hopefully get it voted out in the following weeks because we understand that these resources need to touch the ground immediately, especially the two bills that Alderwoman Tanya and Alderwoman Clark Hubbard is covering. We know that the city of St. Louis, when it comes to our winter months and winter planning, is behind. And I want to thank Mayor Spencer for being proactive. As Alderwoman Tanya said, tapping into reserve is not a common thing. But I think everyone understands that we have to make sure, especially in this precedent moment, that not only we keep people in their homes, but we save lives. Probably about a year ago, we remembered somebody died not too far from here, right outside City Hall. And we can't afford that to happen. And I just want to thank the mayor's office. I want to thank Casey Millbrook, Chief of Staff. I want to thank President Green, Janika Hayden from the president's office, Christina Gramindia, Julian Nix. Oh, I was getting to Julian. Julian Nix from the Office of Recovery, who's worked very closely with the Board of Aldermen during the budget process as we've been holding monthly meetings as the budget chair. Alderwoman Tanya, who has been a staunch advocate for making sure that we change the way that we do policy for our unhoused. Our Director of Human Services, as well as our Director of Operation, Mr. Ben and Mr. Adam Pearson, who has also been very essential in this time and have continued to have their doors open. Again, this is collaboration between the executive branch and the legislative branch in the president's office, because we do understand that we must move fast while government moves slow, and we're working to do everything possible. And I'm honored to be part of this. And I hope residents see that we are trying, and we do need to do better, but we are trying. Thank you.
We'll take some questions.
Yeah.
Mayor, what does success look like with all these changes? You know, looking back 6 months from now, what would success be for you?
Well, first and foremost, success looks like not a single life lost this winter. Success looks like families that can come out of this winter with a plan for continued living here in the city of St. Louis. Success looks like avoiding trauma when possible, stabilizing communities through this really, really tough winter. So we're going to be looking to putting funds towards rental vouchers and other things. Congregate shelter is a very important piece of the puzzle here, absolutely, the warming buses, but we also want, when possible, to prevent the trauma of becoming unhoused. And so success looks like making sure we have a path for continued housing for everybody who was impacted by the tornado who was in a dwelling before May 16th.
I'd like to ask Alderman Sonnier a question. Could you step up to the mic, please? A few weeks ago, I interviewed you, and you complained about the city's lack of progress in dealing with the homeless issue as we approached the cold weather. What did you do in the interim to generate that spark that's leading to today?
You know, I think the helpful thing in this situation is this conversation has been going on every year since I've been here, including the mayor last year before she was mayor. So none of my complaints or critiques were anything new, and I think many of us are familiar and have heard from the many volunteers who do this work every single winter. I would really give the credit to them that they were reaching out to myself, reaching out to the mayor's office, reaching out to the president's office, and telling all of us, hey, we need you to do something, and we need you to do something soon. And I think for the mayor's office, for the president's office, for all of us, of course we knew the unhoused issue was already a problem, but it's going to be exacerbated this winter. We've never been prepared, and we've never been ready, and there's a lot of work to do in terms of funding and policies and practices for supporting those residents. But now we've had a real life scenario to show us just how thin the line is between housed and unhoused for residents that, as Alderman Aldridge alluded to earlier, already were disinvested in and already suffer with resources. So just in the interim time, I've continued to have conversations. I've continued to rely on the folks who are doing that work on the ground and ask them what they need. I've continued to remain in conversation with the mayor's office, the president's office, and my colleagues, and just advocating that we do what we can. And I think today's outcome is a great outcome because it does need to be a holistic approach, because you are in an interesting situation, like I said, where you have the unhoused community, but also you have folks who are recovering for a tornado that are unhoused or right on the border. of being unhoused. So I'm really grateful for the providers, and I would give just the community really the credit for challenging all of us to rise to this moment and do whatever we can.
Last night, staff gave an update at the. Last night, the staff gave an update on the tornado damage. They said this is a $1 to $2 billion problem with this housing damage, and a lot of people at that meeting said that all of the RAMS money should be put towards that. Is that something that your office is considering, legislation as well?
We, as we deploy these funds, getting us through the winter, I mean, as pointed out, I mean, we have long-term needs here. It's not just about getting through this winter. Of course, getting through this winter is critical to anything else. But we've also got to rebuild houses. There's homes that unfortunately can't be rebuilt. There are homes that we are taking down. We have to rebuild the community. And that is a $1 to $2 billion project. And so as we look towards those RAMS funds and what we spend them on, and we will be announcing a plan for the RAMS funds in the coming days, weeks, very, very shortly here as we are preparing that expenditure package. There is going to be a considerable investment in North St. Louis, very, very considerable. And I think it's absolutely necessary to the success of our region to do that.
Mayor.
Yeah.
She pointed at you.
Yeah.
It's a nice presentation.
This is a really nice press briefing board. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
With the new funding, how many additional shelter beds will be opened and where will they be located?
We are in the process of developing working with the provider community. As Alderwoman Sonia pointed out, the provider community is really going to be doing the heavy lift here. We're going to be providing funding, but they're going to be doing the real work. And as we are developing those partnerships, this is the funding available for that. So where they specifically would go, we will not have that until those arrangements are made and these funds are actually out the door. But we do anticipate having at least 200 new beds as a part of this package. As well, we are targeting of having shelter space for 1,000 people that are impacted by the tornado. So those exact figures we'll be able to really hone in on in the coming days, weeks, as we make those partnerships with the provider community. But we recognize that we've got a total need of around 900 shelter space beds and an additional at least 1,000 folks impacted by the tornado that are going to be seeking shelter this winter.
For those people that are impacted by the tornado, have you guys discussed plans to go into these neighborhoods and deliver that news to these impacted residents who maybe aren't watching the news or aren't reading board bills? Sure, yeah, the outreach is critical. As you know, we opened up the outreach center last week, which is being exceptionally well used. We're very excited about the engagement there. But additional engagement, we recognize, and we're partnering with community organizations. I mean, really the best way to get that word out is through the folks that have the trusted relationships and do that trusted work within community. So we'll be partnering with community organizations to help us get the word out.
Anything new?
How many
Sorry.
people are living in tornado damaged homes that are still unlivable?
That is a really, really next to impossible question to answer right now. But my best guess, our best guess right now is close to 10,000. We know we have several thousand buildings that are marked by FEMA as red or yellow. How many folks are still in there? We do know it to be several thousand, but upwards of 10,000 people is what we're looking at. Now, how many of those have additional resources within community? I mean, we're talking about just an incredibly resilient community. So many folks have already been sheltering within family structures, without other support structures within the community. So how many of those will need shelter through this winter is something we don't have a concrete answer for, so we're really leaning into our partnerships to really hone in on what that looks like.
Any plans to give special attention to large homeless gatherings like the tent encampment? What do you guys plan for places like that?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke a little bit about the warming buses. I mean, we do recognize, as folks who will continue to choose to remain outside of traditional housing structures, getting through the extremely dangerous weather is incredibly important. So we are committed to providing warming buses. We're also committed to increasing capacity within the warming shelters. We saw last year, especially when the library shut down, that capacity really evaporated overnight. And so we want to make sure that we have additional support systems to make sure that folks can get through those really dangerous temperatures.
Switching gears,
Wait, Elliot, you've already got two
President,
questions.
President
But
Green,
we'll come back.
Question. There was a lot of conversation last night about, slow-moving spending, only $4 million of that RAM spending out the door. Is this red tape need to be cut here? There's a lot of slow movement. You talked a little about that last night. Can you just talk about what the need is?
I mean, I think as, Mayor Spencer said previously, we do have some specific language in these bills to make procurement go a little bit faster. We also heard last night from our departments that they think that they can shorten the timeline to be able to get funds out the door. And whenever we're in a situation where we're trying to move a lot of money at one time, it can often be slow. We have, allocated quite a bit of funds, as the mayor said, close to $100 million toward this, but we also are very cognizant that the community feels like they are not feeling the impact of that money yet.
switching
And
gears.
I just want to clarify too, as the president pointed out, we have spent or allocated over $90 million. With these funds, it's over $100 million. There are some timing gaps between sometimes getting those funds out and getting them accounted for in the accounting system. And so what we saw last night doesn't exactly reflect what we know to be having spent. That being said, the president's absolutely right. Even at $100 million, we have not spent, we have not filled all the gaps. The need is tremendous. We have been a guinea pig as a city for how the federal government is supporting communities through disasters. And as we walk through this, we are in a lucky spot having the RAMS funds, and we are spending those, and we are looking at ways in which we can be creative and as the president pointed out, cutting red tape and making sure we get those funds out as quickly as possible. But government has restrictions in how we spend funds, and we want to be careful. These are tax dollars for the most part, with the exception of the RAMS funds at the end of the day, and we recognize that we have some accountability to the residents who expect transparency on that as well.
Before we switch gears.
My question has to do with, I'm sorry,
So-
what did you say?
We have more questions on this topic? Before-
Yeah, this is dealing with tornado
Just
recovery.
quickly, there was talks about the bus. Is that the city bringing back the bus they operated, or is that funding for the nonprofits that operate the warming bus?
We have a partnership with Bi-State, and we will be announcing some specifics on that in the coming days. But the traditional warming buses that the city has engaged in years past, not in the previous last year, but those have been successful operations, and we are looking forward to bringing that back online.
So you'll be using more the lighter cruising model with these warming buses?
Well, I don't know, that they were available during Mayor Cruzen's tenure, and they were very helpful in saving lives and providing much-needed warming opportunities for folks who are choosing to remain outside.
Question I wanted to ask you, Mayor, was you had talked a lot about that $180 million for debris removal. How's the government shutdown going to impact that? Could it slow it down? What do you know about it?
Right now, FEMA is still operating to a large extent, so we are continuing to work with our state partners and getting those funds and getting those contracts out the door.
With the
Anybody else?
consideration of adding new beds, will that look like mass shelters, and are there spaces available for that, even consideration of the Armory or the AT&T building?
Yeah, we are in communication with several large property owners because we recognize that in order to bring those beds online, we're going to have to expand where the physical locations. We're not ready to talk about those specific locations at this time as we're developing those partnerships, but you're absolutely right. Thinking outside of where we've traditionally been able to house folks is critical to being successful here.
What is the status on the large-scale demolition paid for by FEMA?
I can let Julian kind of speak to this, but as I mentioned, this is an effort that is being led by the state of Missouri. Their Department of Public Safety is holding the funds that the state is allocating towards this effort, and the FEMA funds are coming in directly through the state of Missouri at that point. So we are continuing to work with them. The state has assigned a person to lead that effort on their part, and we have a good working relationship with them. Julian, did you want to?
Sure. Yeah, so specifically on that, so one, you all know we opened up the STL Recovers Outreach Center on last week. So one, we encourage anyone who's looking for private property assistance, whether it be debris or demolition removal or the home repair, where these additional dollars will help accelerate, to go online and apply now. That is available now at app.stlrecovers.com, and they can also go to the Outreach Center directly there as well. So as a part of that program, it starts by getting people to apply. We do a title search, and then we actually send inspectors out to look at the property before submitting the final work packet to the state. So the part that the city owns of that process has begun. We already have about over 500 applications at the latest that I looked at that have already applied, and so we'll start moving all of those groups through the pipeline over these next couple of weeks, and we will be making that data and things and dashboards more transparent to the public once those are developed and designed.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Wait, I have an unrelated question.
Okay. Yes, what's the unrelated question?
Can you just talk about what happened yesterday with the piece of City Hall falling onto one of the cars outside, and just any concerns for maybe if that could happen again?
Yes, that happened at the end of the day. Towards the end of the day, a piece of metal sheeting fell off within, so the way City Hall is built, there's a sort of an internal atrium that's not visible from the outside to the general public, but there are cars that park under City Hall, so to speak, or kind of on the ground level, and a piece of metal did fall down on top of a vehicle down there. We are looking into making sure that we're understanding how that happened, and we're fixing it, and we're going to make sure that we're preventing that from happening. It really is kind of, I think, really internal to just sort of the cars that are parked within that sort of atrium. So I am not super concerned about folks that are on the outside here, but it certainly is a concern for folks that not only park there, but use that entrance point. So,
Mayor, didn't ask you about the sheriff. What's your reaction about all that?
well, the judges, the court system clearly took action. I mean, we have to have a functioning sheriff. It's incredibly important to the functioning and well-being of the court system. And so I'm hopeful that through this we can have some stability in that department. I mean, not only is it critical to the functioning of our court system, but, for those incarcerated, we all know how important it is that we have a sheriff's department that's functioning, serving well, and being able to transport folks in much need of medical
And Chief
support.
Hayden was your choice.
Well, Chief Hayden is one of many folks that have identified themselves as folks who have had an interest. I know the Board of Aldermen has been taking in applications for folks that are expressing interest in serving. I don't know how many they have, but I do think I do have faith and confidence in Chief Hayden. But and as well, I know there are others who have expressed interest. So I think at the end of the day, it's important that we have some stability in the sheriff's office, and that we have some reliability and build confidence back in that very important, critical role for our community. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah.
Last one question. Who's looking at the long term for rebuilding St. Louis? We had some holidays for the tornado victims.
The long term, again, is really led in my office by Julian Nix, who is not only, we're focused right now on the winter, but our long-term planning effort is a major component of that. As well, we have a partnership with SLDC, but really, I would say there's a whole host of folks. I mean, the broader community, the philanthropic, the private sector, we are all focused on this. That effort is led by Julian Nix, and there are a whole host of partners, including the Board of Aldermen. We are all partners in the long-term recovery plan. And of course, the residents. We have a tremendous amount of resident involvement, and will have a tremendous amount of residential involvement in the decision-making on how we move forward with the long-term rebuilding effort.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mayor.